Howdy design fans, and welcome back. In the last few lectures we spoke about different persuasion frameworks, psychological mechanisms that you could use in your landing pages to more effectively appeal to your visitors. Contextual awareness. So let's jump into the slides. So as you see here, we have this beautiful image of empathy. And like I said, persuasive techniques could only be used effectively by you if you understand your visitors. And a lot of studies have been shown that when people sit around and talk about who their visitors are to their websites, to their landing pages, a lot of what you think about your visitors is wrong. They're often not the people that you think they are. They often don't buy your products or are interested in learning about your products and services for the reasons you might think they are. And they tend to do things differently on your site than you'd expect them to do. Okay, so those are interesting things to realize. When also your analytics tools. So in order for you to truly enable your visitors through your design to accomplish their tasks, you have to be aware of who they are. What led them to your site? Did they wake up that morning with a problem? Did they experience something in their day? Were they kind of thinking about your products and services for a long time, and then they just finally decided to do some research or come to your site? Were they just browsing and saw an ad on social media? Did they go to Google and do it and actively take time out of their day to search for something? Okay, what led them to your site? How much knowledge do they have? Are these educated people, and educated in general and educated with regards to your products and services? Is the traffic source tied to a certain level of education? Do email marketing leads or do visitors from your email campaigns tend to bring in a more educated visitor than your PPC Organic traffic doesn't offer you that same level of control, but using analytics, you're able to tell which types of keywords are ranking and that are generating traffic to your site, right? So you could use keywords and that sort of data analysis to get a sense of the demographics, the who of your traffic as they're coming into your site. Email campaigns, which is another very popular form of getting traffic, could bring in very highly engaged, highly committed people to your site, but you should still have a good sense of your demographic groups and your demographic segments from your email campaigns. Very important in becoming contextually aware, meaning who these people are, is having the ability, developing the ability for you and for your team to come up with user scenarios. It's really, really an indispensable tool. So we're all familiar with personas that really account for the type of the person, the role of person, right? For example, you're a small business owner. That's who you are. It's your role. But scenarios take into account the context of the visit, the different events, the different feelings that led to somebody actually being on your site, regardless of their role. That's why user scenarios are so powerful. User scenarios seek to answer what brought them to the site. What are their underlying concerns and fears? What motivates them, right? What are their desires? And coming up with user scenarios also, it's not just task-oriented, trying to figure out how somebody would actually complete a role, but it's the whole picture, right? Understanding that different people will approach the same task differently. And on the right-hand side, we have a picture of a behavioral flow chart in Google Analytics. That's a really cool chart. If you guys are not familiar with any of these analytics screenshots, just as a side note, really shameless plug, you can check out my other course on remarketing if you haven't checked out that yet. But moving forward. So creating our user scenarios, right? Get out your pad and paper. That's what this is all about. You want to bring together everyone from your team. Intent for your fictitious website visitors. What are they trying to accomplish on your site? Then take the time to write down more of a detailed intent profile, right? What are they trying to accomplish on your site? How do you imagine them actually going about and accomplishing that task? Do you imagine them converting? If so, which conversion action do you imagine them converting on, right? So more of a taking the emotional affective states and predicting what and how they're going to go about accomplishing their task, okay? That is a user scenario. You should not be writing out the entire user scenario on the site, okay? This is a mistake, and I'm going to talk to you about this example in a second. The point of the user scenario is for you to write it out and then for you to figure out how to take all that and design your headlines. Which persuasion technique is going to work the best? How are you going to use the concept of anchoring and reciprocal concessions and cognitive dissonance theory to best appeal to your users in your bullet points and your short paragraphs and your action block and your clear call to action, right? Whether it be e-commerce or services. This website is a landing page for CDPAP, which is Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program. It's a Medicaid-sponsored program where people could get paid to take care of their loved ones through insurance, okay? It's a popular thing. There's a specific reason why I want to show you this landing page, because in the next section, we are going to build a landing page from scratch, particularly for this service, okay? Because I think it kind of brings together a lot of, it has the opportunity for a lot of different things we've spoken about in terms of landing page design, persuasion frameworks, and I'm actually going to spend money getting leads, and we're going to test and track the results over time. So you guys are going to have a fun time being with me through that process. We'll do A/B split testing, all different kinds of cool things. But look at this landing page. They literally wrote out a user scenario, right? Consider the following scenario. Sally Bronson was a dedicated mother who had worked hard. 6 paragraphs. This, it might be better than some other landing pages we've seen, but the point of this is not to write out your entire user scenario, because people are not going to read that, right? We already know very clearly that people don't read on landing pages, people scan. That's a rule that you should remember. So I wanted to come up with my own user scenario for that specific landing page. We're going to use this user scenario, reference back to it when we're actually going and creating. Come up with have a similar age bracket or demographic, similar anxieties, similar desires and motivations, similar conversion paths, similar intent. Find the commonalities between the different user scenarios that you've created. Take all that and go back to your site and assess your information architecture. Are you providing relevant information to these people with these anxieties, with these fears, with these motivations and desires? Are you answering their questions? Are you providing a sense of safety, a sense of affinity, a sense of security, right? Ask yourself these questions and imagine you're that person. Close your eyes, take a few minutes, and really imagine that you are your user scenario. Now open your eyes and go back to your landing page, right? What obstacles will you face? Not you, your visitor. What questions will you have? What elements of your site might cause you frustration? This is a really good exercise. I've done this. If you can get this right, it could be extremely powerful. Once you do that, you want to come up with ways that you could lay out that information in a way that's easier for your visitors to understand, in a way that's more engaging for your visitors, in a way that's easier for your visitors to interact with. Ultimately, what you're trying to accomplish is just making sense for your visitors, the types of people they are, the different fears and anxieties they have, the context, the scenario, the events in their life, the things that they've experienced that led them to your site. And you want to design accordingly. Just as a very quick example, at our agency, we often get phone calls from people who are really fed up and frustrated with their previous agency, managing their PPC campaign, or they hired a development team that didn't do a good job. And we know that from our data. So we know that a lot of people who come to our site are feeling frustrated with a previous digital advertising agency. So we have to design accordingly, right? We have to talk, it's an opportunity to talk about that fear, to write copy in a way that shows that, oh, we understand where you're coming from. We're empathetic with the fact that you've hired a PPC agency and your results tanked, or they didn't get in touch with you, or you haven't heard from them, right? Or they don't take the time to understand your business metrics. So we could use those fears, those anxieties, only by understanding the context of their visit, the events that led up to them coming to our site. And that's your exercise for this lecture. Really do that. Write your user scenarios. Write the roles, the traits, the intent, and the conversion path. Get as many of them as you can. If you're doing it by yourself, 4 or 5. Find commonalities, and then close your eyes. Close your eyes, imagine you're that person. You might be a different race, you might be a different religion, a different age, but to feel those fears, feel those anxieties, feel the motivation you have, feel the need for more information to get your questions answered. Open your eyes, go back to your site, experience the site with a sense of empathy from the perspective of your user scenarios. It'll be literally and figuratively and emotionally an eye-opening experience. And I'm excited to hear from you guys how this experiment went, how this exercise went, what your results were, and what you implemented on your landing pages as a result of this exercise. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll see you very soon in the next lecture.